Fate Grand Order has a long-standing obsession with vehicular manslaughter, and Midlife Crisis Ellie-chan continues this proud tradition by putting the car in Carmilla. This time she's a 4-star rider introduced in the upcoming Las Vegas event. She's on the same banner as Osakabe Hime and Musashi, so you might end up with a few dozen. When it comes to Carmilla's skills, utility is the name of the game. First up, we have Femme Fatale, Fake. It has a chance to seal your target's skills for a single turn, reduce their crit defense for 3 turns, and it gives up to 15 stars. If you plan to use Carmilla as a suicide lead, which we'll talk about, I'd keep it in mind for leveling. Next up, we've got Phantom Thief's Calling Card. It puts a delayed drain on your target, and once it procs, it reduces their charge by 1 bar and gives your whole party up to 25% meter. It also comes with 3 turns of crit chance reduction. On one hand, killing your target loses the effect, making it useless for fast farming. However, it persists even if Carmilla dies. The charge amount goes up as you level it, so most builds should prioritize it. The last skill we need to cover is Mistress C. It drains all your enemies for up to 2k health, healing Carmilla for the total amount, so up to 6k. It reduces defense but can't deal lethal damage. Real shame because instant skill-based damage, the kind that isn't self-inflicted, is quite rare. I'd love to pop a break bar or something with it, but that's not how Carmilla works. Carmilla's Noble Phantasm is Testarossa Maiden. It's an AoE quick attack that applies a single stack of buff block. Its overcharge effect reduces quick resistance, which is effectively a quick buff for any subsequent attacks on those targets. This brings us to the most important question for any quick attacker. Can it loop? No, not even close. Carmilla's in dire straits. Last I checked, Astolfo could put up a better showing, and he's got a one-hit Noble Phantasm. That said, Carmilla has her perks in the main attacker role. I'd still run her with Scotty because her relatively high attack stat and debuff suite means she can absolutely ruin enemies with quick crits, and she has multiple mulligans when it comes to eating bullshit crits herself. Of course, this does come with the caveat that because she's so debuff reliant, Carmilla gets absolutely screwed by debuff immunity, which isn't that rare of a sight. If you'd prefer to hedge your bets, she works reasonably well as a supportive, secondary attacker. In this role, I'd pair her with either a rider or someone with star absorption. Some highlights of that second category include Okita Alter, Altera the Santa, Voyager, and Calamity Jane. Jane has the advantage of doubling down on charge drains and crit hate. She also has a skill that scales on the number of stars you have, and when you're riding with Carmilla, you'll be shitting out stars like it's Taco Tuesday and Jack's on cafeteria duty. As for other riders, some highlights include Kintoki, Ushiwakamaru, Red Hair, and Achilles. There's also Bart, but he's really more of a support for Carmilla than the other way around. NP aside, her kit isn't married to the quick card type, so you shouldn't feel too bad about venturing outside that box. Odysseus is a pretty funny pick because he can actually taunt 2 out of 3 frontliners, giving you a convenient way of getting rid of Carmilla once her skills are depleted. Speaking of which, the final application for Carmilla is as a suicide lead. By running her with Gura Poster Girl, Plug Suit, or some other method of compulsory evacuation like Chen Gong, you can reap the benefits of her powerful skills without dealing with any of her jank or tendency to absorb stars. Skill seals, stars, defense down, charge drain, crit resist reduction, a charge effect that procs even if she's dead? That's quite a loadout, and it lends itself to the Skeet and Yeet approach. Something to keep in mind when you're team building for boss fights. For craft essences, aggressive builds can use Origin Bullet for Invuln Pierce and anti-caster damage. You also have Traces of Christmas and Holy Night Supper. Gura Poster Girl is of course the go-to for one and done builds. Fragment of 2030 gives you a constant stream of stars, and Golden catches the Carp, dumps them up front, and comes with charge if you want to try and use Carmilla's NP. Then there's Record Holder, which gives debuff success chance. It's a tag option for enemies with magic resistance, but not immunity. Does very little otherwise, so I devise a way of taking Carmilla out if you're gonna go this route. Finally, we have her Bon CE, which gives her NP damage and a small chance to skill seal on hit. The proc chance is too small to make it practical, but it's an unusual effect and noteworthy for its novelty. I'm firmly in the suicide lead camp for Rider Carmilla Doctrine, so the really aggressive command codes are off the table. However, I would recommend party support CCs like Crest of the Stone Bird, which buffs party crit damage, and Everyone's Da Vinci-chan, which gives party NP damage. Hit and Run Carmilla is functional as an attacker, but the Rider class has such a wealth of them already that you shouldn't go out of your way to get high NP levels unless you have some inherent affinity for her. Her supportive functions are just as good at NP1. I'd consider a single copy for her utility, but if you pull a ton while rolling for Musashi, consider keeping your spares at various levels for esports. You know, it's kind of a shame she's a quick supportive attacker. If she were arts-based, her skill set would be fairly abusable with cooldown reduction, but I guess that's a lost belt for another day. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and come watch me on Twitch where I stream every weekend. 3 p.m. Pacific Time, Friday through Sunday. This weekend, I'll be finishing up Summer 3, so stop on by to see Mistake claw its way through Endless 8. See you there.